Hi everybody, Steven and Loki here. If you ever wondered how to set up your identity broker and identity providers in VMware Cloud Foundation version 9, well, you know what? That's what we're going to cover in this video. So stick around and we'll see you in a bit. We'll see you in a bit. Thanks for sticking around, everybody. So in this video, we're going to talk about setting up an identity broker in VMware Cloud Foundation version 9. Now, before we jump into it, I got a little bit of a lecture portion here, not much, and then we're just going to jump straight into the demo. Now, before I begin, I want to just throw this out there for those of you that subscribe to the channel. Did super thanks, really appreciate it. 20 thumbs up to you folks. Really appreciate your support. We're getting close to 10,000 subscribers, which is really nice. For those of you that haven't subscribed to the channel but watch the videos, please consider supporting the channel. Very simple. Hit that subscribe button. Without subscribers, there's no content developers. So, if you're enjoying the stuff and you find it very useful and beneficial for you, do me a favor, support me by clicking that subscribe button. Other ways to support the channel is sharing links, liking, leaving comments. All that stuff helps out with the YouTube analytics. Please don't send me any questions via LinkedIn. I don't answer them there. I only answer them in the comment section, okay? And other ways to support the channel is super thanks, but it's totally up to you. So why don't we get started? Okay, so first of all, what is an identity broker? Let me just get this up here. So right now I'm looking at the VMware Cloud Foundation version 9 documentation, and it talks about an identity broker. It doesn't really tell you what it is, but an identity broker basically provides you with a single sign-on type solution. So if you played with vSphere before, you're familiar with vCenter Server, had the platform services controller, basically providing single sign-on solution. That's still there, okay? We could still utilize that, but there's also another option we have. So when we talk about identity broker, the identity broker brokers the connection between identity providers. Provider could be something like Active Directory or LDAP, right? So the broker basically issues single sign-on tokens. And why do I care about this? Now, when we talk about VMware Cloud Foundation, there's different components there, right? There's NSX, there's vCenter Server, there's VCF Ops, there's VCF Automation, just to name a few, okay? Now, imagine you're just going to use the local accounts on each of those, which you can do. You'd have to log into each one individually, okay? And you could do that. But wouldn't it be nice if you just logged in with one account, one AD account, let's say, and let's say you have access to all those components, then you can actually jump back and forth without having to completely log in and out all the time of those components. And that's kind of what single sign-on provides you, hence the word single sign-on, right? It issues you a token and says, oh, okay, hey, Steve is logging in to VCF Ops. Does he have permissions to do that? Yes, he does. Oh, now Steve wants to log into NSX. Does NSX allow Steve to do stuff? Oh, yeah, then he's allowed to go in. So once we set up our identity broker, we can then set up identity providers, okay? And you can have multiple providers if you want to. You could have AD or LDAP or whatever the case may be, right? In my demo here, I'm just going to do one. I'm going to have my Active Directory domain, vclass.edu. We're going to use the embedded. In this video, we'll do the embedded deployment, okay? So there's two different deployments. You have the embedded deployment and you have the appliance deployment. Let me click on this video here, or this picture. The embedded deployment, you'll see right here, you got NSX, you got VCF operations, automation, all the VCF components, beautiful. We got vCenter Server there. vCenter Server says VCF Identity Broker Embedded. That's basically the built-in single sign-on service for VCF that we've known to, for quite a while. So we're saying we want to use that. That's the embedded. There's only one source there. So if vCenter should die right now, you've lost that single sign-on, okay? So you won't be able to sign in with a Active Directory domain at that point, or a user account at that point. You can still log in with local accounts. But again, so how do we protect this? Well, if vCenter should die here, vSphere HA, vCenter Server H, not vCenter Server, vSphere HA would kick in, and let's say it was a host that died and the VM died, it would fail over to another host, okay? That's vSphere HA. So that's how you're protecting that. So this is great. You've got your single VCF environment and you can manage that. All right. Now let's look at that's the embedded. That's what I'm going to demo. I'll do a separate video on this other one. Appliance deployment mode. Let's click on this picture. Picture looks exactly the same, almost. It's a subtle difference here. You see vCenter servers over here now. And then we have the identity broker appliance. This is a separate VM. Actually, they should have a picture of 3 VMs here because it's a cluster of 3. So you now have this new appliance that we introduced in version 9, VCF 9. That's going to be a single sign-on solution or identity broker. So it's going to be issuing us tokens. And there's 3 of them. They're only showing you 1 here. You'd have 3 for a cluster to make for high availability. This can integrate with Active Directory, LDAP, all these wonderful identity providers, just like the previous one. So when would you want to use one over the other? When should I pick the appliance mode or the embedded mode? And if you scroll down here, they talk about some of the features. I'm just going to jump right over this one. For the embedded, it says choose the embedded deployment mode if you want to use the identity broker that's embedded with vCenter. Okay, that's simple. It's a simple solution. You don't have to worry about anything. That's fine. If you only have one VCF environment and that's all you're managing, that's what you want to do. It's very simple. Okay. Now the 3-node identity appliances can handle single node failures. Yeah, you got 3 of them, so it can handle a node failure, no problems. If you need to connect more than one VCF instance to the identity broker. Now, imagine you got multiple VCF instances. So you got a fleet of VCF instances, and I want to be able to log in with an 80 account in this one and have that same account authenticate to the other ones if you want that level of flexibility. That's when you would have that centralized source for your single sign-on, and the other VCFs could use that, okay? There's a limitation. It's 5. A maximum of 5 VCF instances can connect to one identity broker. So that's, to me, is like the big thing. If the management domain vCenter is not accessible by some VCF components, choose the appliance. Yeah. Oh, so what they're saying here, if I did the embedded, if my management domain, because it's going to use the vCenter server, the management domain, if that's not available, then your single sign-on is not available. That's what they're saying here. So if that's a big concern, then you want to, again, maybe use the appliance version, okay? Totally up to you. So that's it. Why don't we jump right into the demo, okay? Okay, so let's get started here. Let me log into my VCF ops here. And you notice here, I have choice of local accounts, all vCenter, and my vCenter here, right? So let's keep that in the back of your mind. I'm going to log in with the local account admin. I'll type in the password, and away we go here. All right, so let's set up our identity broker here. So I'm going to go into, fleet management, identity and access, and then right off the bat here, I actually see a couple of things. So they talk about single sign-on mode here. They talk about the deployment modes, which I talked about. So it's telling me I have the choice for the embedded, or I have choice for the appliance, right? We're going to be doing the embedded. And again, it talks about a few other things here that you kind of need to know about. Then it talks about some of the prerequisites, right? And you have to confirm all these before you go forward. So it says with vCenter Server, after single sign-on is enabled, any existing identity provider configurations in the participating vCenter Server will be overridden by this new single sign-on configuration. If there's any existing external identity providers configuration in vCenter, it will be overridden with the new single sign-on. It says users and groups may need to be reprovisioned. It talks about other VCF components now, telling you again, other VCF components will use this new single sign-on as their additional authentication method. Sorry about that. And it will continue to use the native component. So that's all right. So you need to confirm that. It'll tell you also that enhanced link mode is not supported. So if you got your vCenter servers in an enhanced link mode, you got to tear them apart. It's not supported here. Again, that's being deprecated. So if you're doing any greenfield installs of version 9, you do not want to be setting up enhanced link mode, okay? I'll talk about that in a separate video. Here it talks about the SDDC manager. It does not participate with single sign-on. After single sign-on is enabled, Identity provider configurations will be managed in VCF operations. The SDDC manager user interface will only be used to support logins with local domains. However, the SDDC manager APIs will still support logins for users with authenticate through VCF single sign-on. So, and then it talks about Power CLI. You may have to be aware of that with your scripts. It may be modified as well. Then it talks about here users performing the VCF single sign-on configurations. So whatever user, like I logged in as admin, should have the all object scope assigned in the VCF operations. Then it tells you to navigate to check that. So I'm logged in as admin. I actually have it. So you have to read these and agree to all this stuff before you say, yeah, okay, let's do this. So I'm going to click on continue. And it tells me to get started with it. Talks about some of the stuff here. Great. Tells me to select the VCF instance. I only got my VCF instance. I only have the one VCF instance, so I'll select that. And then we give that a few seconds. Now there's 3 parts here that I have to go through. So choose my deployment mode. So I'm going to click on start. And we talked about the different deployments. You have embedded and you have the appliance. So this video is going to be doing the embedded. I'll do a separate video on the appliance. So let me go select Identity Broker Embedded. I'll click Next. Now it's asking me, so now I have to choose my deployment mode. So that's already done. That's good. And then it tells me configure my identity provider. So remember, your identity broker allows us to use identity provider. So I'm going to pick one here, and that'll be my Active Directory environment that I've set up. So now it's telling me choose my identity provider. You'll see there's a whole bunch of them that are supported here. A lot of the newer stuff, Open LDAP as well, and the Active Directory over LDAP. And that's what I'm going to pick in my environment. I don't have any of these, but if you had these, you could choose that, all right? So I'm going to pick this one. I'm going to go next. I'm going to say configure this. Now it's asking me for my directory name. I'll call it vClass. DNS server location, enable DNS server location. Identity brokers locate and connects to optional domain controllers in Active Directory. So I do have my DNS server set up as a domain controller, so basically it's going to find it through there, so that's fine. I do not have a global catalog set up, or I can't remember if I did. I'm just going to leave that disconnected. Do I want to encrypt? Probably a good idea to do that. I don't have mine set up for that, so I'm just going to take that off. So probably in a real world, you would act that encrypted. Now, my directory search attributes, do I want to do it based on the account names or principal name? I'm just going to stick with the default account names. And then this is where you basically specify your distinguished names and common names here. So mine is basically, my common name is user, then DC, my distinguished name is vClass, and then the other distinguished name is .edu. And then how am I binding this? What user ID am I using? So I'm actually going to go in over here as, actually I already got it typed in here, administrator at vclass.edu. That's my domain. And then my password, I'll type that in. Great. So this should connect. There we go. I do a review. I'm not doing LDAP over S or SSL, so probably in the real world you would. And you click on finish. And you give this thing a few seconds to churn through it. Then once this is done, come on. Then once this is done, if I entered everything correctly, give it a few seconds to churn through here. There we go. Now I configure users and group provisionings, right? So I'm just going to click on my third part here. So I'll click on configure. I confirm the directory information, which I set up before. All that's correct. I'll go next. Now it's going to ask me about attribute mapping. Basically, it says attribute name in VCF. By default here, notice it kind of map. Okay, VCF username is mapping to this attribute in Active Directory. The first name is mapping to this attribute in Active Directory. So you would look through here and kind of pick, oh yeah, that's correct. Notice, for example, I got employee ID here and there's nothing listed here, but there is a setting in Active Directory, employee ID. So I'll select that, and then email and stuff. So for the most part, I can just select the defaults. You may want to check and make sure that they line up with whatever directory you're using in your environment. So I'm going to click next. Now it's asking me, here it talks about sync nested groups. So what I'm going to do is do group provision. I'm going to pick the groups that I want to provision for VCF. If there's nested groups within there, you may want to select this. Now they do give you a kind of warning. It says all users from the selected group and its nested groups are synced without maintaining the group hierarchy. Disable this option for large AD setups and manually select the required groups. So what they're saying here is, yeah, if you've got a small environment, you got a few groups inside of a group, whatever, you can pick this syncing option. Or in a very large AD environment, whatever large means, they're saying just pick the individual groups. You know, so here's a group here, pick that one. If there's groups nested in there, pick those as well. All right, don't worry about the sync option. I don't have nested groups, and I'm not going to worry about this, so I'm going to leave that off. Now, again, here is my base DN distinguished name. Again, just from before, so I'm going to pick that, and I'm going to select for it to look up and look for these groups now. So it's come back. Notice under here it says 0 groups selected. I haven't selected any groups over here. So these are all my AD groups in my environment. If I go, if I go over here, so there's actually 3 pages. You'll see I got a group called Ops Admin and another one called Ops User. I created those in AD. Those are the groups I'm going to use for VCF. So you're not going to select all of these, right? You'll probably have AD groups set up that you're going to use to manage your VCF environment. So you generally have those created beforehand. You can add stuff after the fact, right? So there's my 2 groups I created in AD. I'm going to go next. Now it's asking me for same kind of thing, but for users. So again, I'll put in my distinguished name here, and I'm going to tell it to do a search. So I've got no users selected. I'm going to do a search for VCF. And I created some users called VCF, VCF min, priv, and user. I'm going to select those, okay? And you'll see I got 3 users selected now. I also have another user called Steve. Come on. Let's search for that. And there's another user, Steve, there, right? So I'll select that, and you'll see now I have 4 users selected. So I've actually selected these users, and I can remove it. You can add more after the fact. I'm going to click Next. I'm going to go Finished. And then we give this thing a few minutes to actually go through and do its little bits here. And we're done, okay? So let's click on Done. And here it's going to come out and says, okay, I can reset the setup if I want to. Let's say I messed up or whatever. I'm going to say I'm finished setup. I'm going to click on that. Now notice over here it says, this will complete the initial setup and take you to the identity source management page for this VCF instance. Do you wish to continue? And I'm going to say yes. Now it talks about you should probably do a backup. It talks about important notes on backups. I'll do a separate video on backups. But what we want to talk about is here. It says important notes about roles. It says log in as local admin to each component. What are they talking about? They're talking about each component, and I'm going to show you this. They're talking about like NSX, VC Ops, vCenter Server. If you got Log Insight, right? I shouldn't say Log Insight. If you have VCF for logs, right? VCF for networks, any of those components, those VCF components you want to log into. And it says assign service roles to provisioned users and groups to enable single sign-on. Access the list of components under the component configuration tab at the end of the setup, okay? So I'll walk you through that. I'm going to click on continue. And at that point here, it'll probably just take a little while for it to churn through and set things up. So there we go. It's embedded. So it's showing me there. So pretty much I am actually done at this point. So my identity source is Active Directory over LDAP. Here's my directory information, and my identity broker mode is embedded. Now, if I click on component configuration here now, so this is what they're talking about. So you'll see vCenter is already been configured. Why? Because technically we're using the single sign-on on vCenter. So it was already using that, so we didn't have to configure it. How about NSX Manager? Okay, so it's not configured. So let's select that, and let's say configure component. All right. Then it says log into local admin of each component and assign services. Access to the list of components. Yeah, this is what we kind of read before. I'm going to say I understand this, and I'm going to go continue. And then we give this thing a few minutes to churn through and configure. All right. I'm going to probably just pause my recording. This might take a few minutes, and then we'll come right back. Okay, so that didn't take long at all, and again gives us a little bit of the information at the top here. It says only licensed VCF components that are version 9 or later and are not part of enhanced link mode are supported for enabling the single sign-on access. Then it says once components are configured, which you see they are, it says log into the local admin account on each component and assign the necessary service role to the provisioned users and groups. Remember those users and groups? And then it says you can launch the component from the respective access console. So right here, so let's do NSX. Let's log into NSX here. Okay. And when I log into NSX, notice it's giving me a login method here of single sign-on. But normally it would default to this, local account. So it's saying, hey, you could use a VCF single sign-on. Sorry, I shouldn't say it like this. You could use an identity provider account that your identity broker has been configured with. That would probably be the proper way of saying it. So I don't have anything set up as of yet. Let me go to local account. Let me log in as admin. So here. So I'm just logging in locally. And this is where I have to now, whatever, and skip. Let's go to the bright screen here. I'm gonna go to system. I'll make it a little bigger for everybody. User management, this is all under NSX. I've done stuff on NSX access control, role-based access control, NSX, so you're going to want to take a look at that. Notice over here under user role assignments, add role for VCF single sign-on user or group. So I'll pick that. What do I want to look for? I'm going to type in VCF and give this, notice over here, VCF admin at vclass.edu, VCF proof. I'm going to pick this first one. So we got it from that Active Directory domain, vclass.edu. What roles? I'm going to give this role again, this is where you have to understand NSX. I'm going to give it the enterprise admin role. And again, I didn't have to, but I'm going to do it in this environment. So you can now then basically, at that point, I save it. And let me log out. And let's log in using VCF single sign-on. And let's type in VCF admin. Whoops. VCF admin at vclass.edu. Type in my password. And there we go. Let me skip that. And again, system. I can go in here and look at a bunch of stuff that I want to. So I've got this set up with the identity broker, right? Let's go into let's say, how about this? Let's kill this. Let's kill that. Let's go into VCOps. How about that? VCOps, local account, all vCenter, or single. I don't have that set up. Okay, so let's go back in. Let's log in as admin. Okay, so let's set this up. Let's go into fleet management, identity access. Let's go under VCF management, and you'll see there's operations appliance and automation appliance, right? And they're both not set up. So let me select configure for single sign-on. Again, there's my identity broker that we set up. I'll say configure for that one. Very simple. Give it a few seconds. Comes up, tells us that to enable single sign-on access, assign the required roles to user groups and so on. Okay, I'll confirm that. We've seen this thing come up a few times. So there we go. Operations is done. Let's go to automation. We'll do the exact same thing. So these are my VCF components. I'm saying use single sign-on. Use this identity broker, right? And I'm going to say continue. From there, let's go into, what do we want here? Let's go into administration. Let's go into integration. Is it integration? No, control panel. Then you'll see authentication sources. If I click on that, we should see that. There we go. We got the VCF single sign-on. That's because I just enabled it. There was nothing there before. I probably should have shown you that. If I go back into here, I'm going to go into access control. Now I got to tell it to pull in those users, right? So what user do you want? There's the local account admin that I've been logging in with. Let's say import from source, and my source is going to be from the VCF single sign-on, and I'm going to do a search here, VCF. Let's say search, and then I'm going to pick VCF admin. Okay, I'll say, okay, pick VCF admin. I'll go next. I can pick groups if I want to. I'm not going to worry about that. And that's it. So there's the VCF admin. And if I select this, I can edit it. And again, you can see this passwords and stuff like that over here. This is where I can go in and assign roles to it, assign roles and scopes. I'm going to give this one the administrator role, and the scope here is going to be for all objects. And then I'll save this, and then that should be it. So let's try this out. Let's log out, and let's log back in as using single sign-on now, and then I could type in that user VCF admin at vclass.edu, VMware. Oops. Bang, there we go. And we should be able to sign in with that account. Let's check out vCenter Server, because I never really set that up as of yet. Let's actually get out of there. Let's go into vCenter Server. Let's log into vCenter Server over here. It looks like it kept me logged in. Oh yeah, it kept me logged in as administrator of vSphere.local. If I go into here, let's go to single sign-on. Look at configuration. It comes up and says VCF single sign-on is configured through the identity broker, right? So that's what we did, right? We set it up. It automatically did vCenter first, but I need to set up permissions. Let's go to global permissions. Let's go to add. And then what directory or domain do I want to look at? I want to look at my vclass.edu, and my user or group will be VCF admin. I'll pick that one. And the administrator role sounds good to me. Yeah, I don't think I need anything. Yeah, I'll say administrator. I'm going to say propagate it down to all child objects. This is all vSphere role-based access control stuff here. Let me say OK. And then now, let's close this. All my browsers are closed. Let me log into, let's log into VCF Ops. Using single sign-on. I'm going to log in as VCF admin at vclass.edu. So I'm logging in with my AD account now that I've set up as administrator. Let me open up NSX Manager now. And it'll say login using single sign-on. It didn't have to log in, right? Because it says, hey, this guy's already logged in as VCF admin over there. See over here? So it logged in as that. Let's try this out. Let's try vCenter Server. Same kind of thing. Oh yeah, single sign-on. Come on. There we go. So that's kind of the advantage of doing this identity broker thing. We got a token from single sign-on, and it says, oh yeah, VCF admin's allowed to go into NSX, allowed to go into vCenter, allowed to go into VCF Ops. All right? So that's kind of neat. But what about VCF automation? Because I also had that as a component as well. So I didn't configure that one with a user yet. So let me click on this. Let me type in VCF auto. And it's going to ask me an organization name. System will be the default. And it's trying to redirect because I set it to use single sign-on. I'm going to say stop redirect here. I have to log in with the local account first. So the local account is min. Type in the password that I set during the deployment. Did I make a mistake on... I think I might have... let's try this again. VCF auto and organization system. Stop redirect. Oh, I did click on. I clicked on login. That's why I messed up the last time. Let me say login with a local account. So local account's admin. And my password I set up for it during the deployment of VCF, and then we click on login. And tells me welcome to VCF. I'll probably do a separate video on this much later on. I'm playing around with this, but I'm just going to say continue to VCF automation. Over here under, what do I want to go here? Under, should be access control. Let me click on access control. You see you got the local admin over here. Let's say import users. and then it's going to come from VCF single sign-on. And this is where, unfortunately, it's not like the other ones where I could do a search, which I thought was really nice. Going to type in the full name, so I'll type in VCF admin at vclass.edu. Okay, scroll down. What role do I want to assign? In my demo here, I'm just going to give them the system admin role. You would give the person the appropriate roles, and inherit roles from groups. Sounds good. I'll save, and then we're done. Let me log out, and let me kill this page completely, and let's try logging in. VCF auto and system, and let's go. Come on, let's see. It should just. I'm just gonna click on login, and then VCF admin. Sorry, folks. VCF admin. Can't type today. At vclass.edu, and the password for that account, and I should be able to log into VCF Auto. There we go. So I'm logged in. So that's pretty much it. Setting up the identity broker, really not that difficult. And then when I set up the identity broker, it actually asked me for an identity provider. I could actually add more providers there if I wanted to. I only got the one, vclass.edu. So now I can actually set up user accounts in my Active Directory domain to manage my VCF environment. Okay, that's pretty much it. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any comments or questions, leave them down below. And hey, you do me a favor, consider supporting the channel. It's really easy and it's free. Just hit that subscribe button. Any questions, stuff that you want me to cover in the future, again, leave them in the comments down below. And that's it, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.